What did you see?
A monster. Under my bed.
What do your parents think about monsters? Do they believe in them?
Did you know?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What's going on, Khalid?
Not much, Joe. I am currently hosting some friends that are visiting from Minnesota, our shared home state. And it's been fun. You know, we went to a comedy show. They've been checking out the sites. I got them to go check out the Broad Museum, which is great. So yeah, it's been a good weekend. How about you?
You know, it's been a decent weekend. It's been pretty busy. So as of recording, it's Easter for recording here, and so it was a big day for our little ones, the kids. We did like Easter egg hunts and all that, all the crazy like whatnots for family and driving all around the state. So it was a busy day, but it was nice. It was nice, I'll say. Yeah.
Fun for the kids, I'm sure.
Yeah. We do this cool, Nicole, a friend of the wife of the podcast, found this cool like way to do Easter egg dye. So she like makes like baking soda and like food coloring, and then we paint the eggs, and then you pour like vinegar over it so it like boils up like lava, and like it makes it like tie-dye eggs. It's really fun.
Nice. Believe it or not, with my Muslim upbringing, we did not do much with Easter eggs, so this is all just cool Christian science to me.
Got to give you some Christian fun facts once in a while.
Once a year is probably good.
Once a year is enough. It's plenty. Plenty. Anyway, Khalid, I'm super stoked for this episode. We got a very special guest, and I want to bring them in. Jessie Gender is a director, writer, podcaster, YouTuber, and culture commentator with a focus on geeky topics, often Star Trek in particular. Our film Identities is now available on the Nebula Network. Welcome to the podcast, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited. I'm always excited to talk about monsters. I am always down. As a trans person, I relate to monsters very heavily. So
fascinating. Yes, we are. I mean, as you heard in the intro, we're all about monsters. We've done like 130 episodes all about monsters. So we're fans too.
Good. Yes, good. I will say I've been to Minneapolis a few times, and I love the Broad Museum. By the way, Khalid, that museum is so cool.
Yeah, and if you're ever coming to LA, it's free all the time. And
wait, I just realized I got mixed up. You're in LA. I'm in Long Beach. I was thinking I'm
in Minneapolis.
Yes. But there's another museum in Minneapolis that I've been to that has like a really cool, like it's a giant art museum that's there.
Yeah, Walker.
Walker, that's what it was.
Walker.
Okay, I got it confused.
Walker's fun.
Yeah.
Walker's where you can go see the cherry on the spoon.
Yes, that's right. That was so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Broad is also very good as well, because I live in Long Beach, so I also know the Broad as well. So
yes,
art museums are cool.
Both museum recs for sure. Check them out whenever you're in LA and or Minneapolis.
Yes, go to both places. Jessie, we got a couple questions we asked all the new guests to the podcast about monsters. The first one is, in all of pop culture, what do you consider to be your favorite like monster or creature? This could be like books, movies, games, anything.
Oh God!
And if it isn't the same, what would you consider as the scariest that you've encountered?
I mean, it kind of depends on what you mean by like monster.
Could be anything.
Yeah, because I'm like, there's like designs that I like that I always like weird teeth things. So like the Chatterer and Hellraiser, or
great choice.
Or Darkman. Which also has some great teeth stuff going on. So I'd probably like pick those two as just like designs. Scariest though, I am always actually, you know what? This is going to be a bit of a spoiler for people who have not seen it. So the scariest monster for me is, if anyone's listened to the Magnus Archives here, have you listened to the Magnus Archives?
I haven't.
There's a monster in the Magnus Archives that legitimately terrifies me. Because I always love like monsters that look like other things. So I'm trying to think of The Thing is a good example of this. But there's one in particular in the Magnus Archives. Spoilers for the Magnus Archives, which is a podcast audio drama series that is one of the best horror things you'll ever listen to. If you ever are into horror audio stuff, it is legitimately horrifying. There's one monster, a recurring monster in that series, where it is also sort of that they sort of look like other people sort of thing, except to one person. So to everyone else, they look like the person that they've taken over, except one person just randomly nearby will see them as someone else, the last person that they took over, and will like freak out about it, but will also be like completely like everyone will not believe them. And also that the monster will know exactly who that person is. So there's a story that freaks me out from that podcast where it's I'm trying to be very quick about it, where it's like a girl, she like starts like neighbor watching her neighbor, and she's like, her neighbor's kind of weird and always scared of something like coming to get him or whatever. And then one night she sees something like a pipe on his on his building that she's watching, and it like moves and then goes inside his house and the lights go out, and she's like, oh shit, what the hell was that? And then so she calls the police, and the police come over, and the person there is not their neighbor anymore. But the police come over, it's like, oh yeah, you check out fine, it was all great, there was nothing wrong with it, because it looks like the person that they were supposed to be. And then when she looked after the police left, the monster just slowly turns and looks right across the way, right at her. And it's like, oh, that was the scariest fucking thing. So yeah, that monster absolutely terrifies the hell out of me every single time.
And it's audio drama, so it's all descriptive, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Listen
cool.
to Magnus Archives. I cannot recommend enough. It is so good.
All right, it's going on the list for sure. I do love that you shout out some teeth monsters. I love like the Chatterer rules. Nemesis from Resident Evil would be another one kind of like that.
He's got those teeth. Those teeth.
Teeth monsters are great. Second question for you: what do you consider yourself like the most geeky about? Like we always like to talk about our geek cards and stuff. Like what are you geeky about?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is like Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie, so I will talk Star Trek all day. Beyond that, I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd. Star Wars is also a big one that I'm kind of in on. I'll save this for the end of the podcast for other fandoms that I've recently got into. But yeah, Star Trek's the big one. That's the one I'm really into. So, and also
Same.
Mass Effect is also like big sci-fi stuff, like Babylon 5, Mass Effect. I'm just a big sci-fi nerd. So.
I feel you on that one. I'm a big fan of like your like the videos that you do on YouTube, the Jessie Gender and the Jessie After Dark videos.
Thank you.
Like you deep dives like with just like great nuance. They're nice and long. Sometimes like don't always have time to like watch a YouTube video, but so I kind of listen to them as like a podcast sometimes.
Yeah, so I do a lot too as well.
Yeah, it's great. I really loved, for anyone listening who hasn't checked your channel, one of your recent ones, Nazis Have the Dumbest Opinions on Star Trek, was really great. It was delightful because there's some great moments, but it's also like a little depressing, of course, because Nazis suck.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. I loved your Babylon 5, the anti-fascist show we need right now.
Also, thank you very much.
Great video. So like you've got some really great takes that I would highly recommend.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Of course.
No, it's always nice, especially like right now. The YouTube is kind of a unfortunate wasteland of a lot of slop and right-wing takes at the moment. So it's nice to like hear people like give feedback and say nice things about it, because you're like, is it just going out into the ether?
Are people seeing this?
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Of course. Could you tell us, before we start up our episode here, a little bit about your film identities? So for listeners, when you were on our Deep Space Love podcast a while back, and you were like in the process of making it, I think at the time, but now it's been out for a while.
Yeah. Sadly, no monsters in that one. Okay. Though I'll tease this just because we're prepping it right now. My next major project is I'm working on a horror feature film that will have some fun Eldritch Horror monsters in it.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll probably be funding that sometime in the next year or so. Anyways, Identities though is a sci-fi film. If you're a big fan of stuff like Cube, where like the movie Cube, the horror movie Cube that I always love, very Saw-like movie, or The Matrix or Hackers. It's a movie basically that kind of evolves from those kind of films, but it's two people wake up in a room with no exits, no way out, not even any memory of who they are, and have to try and find a way to escape. But as they do, they start to learn that there are let's just say forces. I don't want to spoil too much of a relatively short film. It's about an hour long. There are forces that will try to dictate to them who they are, and they sort of have to figure out who they are while also trying to determine who they are not. So it's it's very much a queer metaphor in a lot of ways, and one that I intended to be very much talking about me being a non-binary person, because we often hear a lot of trans stories, when even that's not as much as they could be, but very few non-binary stories that really get at the heart of what it means to be non-binary. So the film was basically me sort of creating a story that was about that. And yeah, it's also just hopefully very fun, very sci-fi. It's got a good cast. If you're a Trekkie, John Delancey's in it. If you're a fantasy nerd, Abigail Thorne, who is both in House of the Dragon and also she was in Star Wars: The Acolyte as well, is in it as well. So yeah, it's just got some cool people, fun stuff, and it's my ode to like low budget science fiction, because I miss when science fiction could be low budget. Like I love modern Star Trek now. Like there's still some good stuff being made, but I miss when it was like all you have is some character actors and some cardboard sets. So
I'm with you on that one. I mean, well, we just watched the 80s movie Outland, and it just reminded me how much I love matte paintings.
Yeah.
I miss those.
Outland is so fun. It's a very good anti-capitalist Sean Connery film.
Really is. Yeah. It's a very fun one. But yeah, I'm with you. Low budget sci-fi it rules.
Yeah. I miss those days.
One other thing that you're working on too, I just wanted to give you a chance to shout out. You're on the Frack This podcast, right?
Yeah. I actually have two podcasts. I'll just shout them out real quick. Frack This podcast, which is a Battlestar Galactica rewatch podcast. It's a continuation of a podcast series I've been doing with my close friend Vera Wild. We rewatched Farscape, and we also rewatched The Prisoner and Babylon 5 as well. And the kind of bit of the whole thing is one of us has seen the show before, one of us has not. So it's kind of re-going through our takes. The Frack This podcast has been interesting because, as much as I loved Battlestar Galactica growing up, it's also been interesting going back with a modern eye, because there's like, they sexualize women a lot in this show in an awkward way. But there's also still some really good relevant politics in there as well. So it's a fun one. And then I also have another podcast called Genre Friction, which I do with my co-host and close friend Spotted Giraffe. She's a Star Trek podcaster, but she's also a cosplayer. She's from France, and she's also a woman of color. And then I'm trans, and so our sort of whole thing with the podcast is to try and talk about big movies and TV shows and things that are coming out in science fiction and fantasy from a like marginalized perspective. So trying to give perspectives that might be outside the norm for people on stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. I will link all of that stuff in our notes for anyone listening who wants to check those out. Those sound fantastic.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for answering all those questions. Khalid, I have a question for you.
What?
How do you know if you've been visited by a possessed rabbit?
How do I know if I've been visited by an possessed rabbit?
Yeah.
Trying to think of like what the bad pun is gonna be.
It's really hard. I don't know. I something with ears hopping or something. I got nothing. What is it?
He leaves deviled eggs.
Oh, this is so I didn't even think about this. This is very appropriate for watching this on Easter, isn't it? Yeah.
It is
really
incredibly apropos. Yes, it worked out well. And that's a segue, Khalid. What are we talking about?
Thanks for asking, Joe. Today we are talking about the 2025 fantasy horror film Dust Bunny. And I've got a synopsis from your homeboy Khalid, aka me, and it goes a little something like this. Bryan Fuller's feature directorial debut gives us mesmerizing visuals cleverly portrayed through the eyes of a precocious 10-year-old. Aurora has a problem, and like any red-blooded American with a problem, she hires a hitman to help her solve it. Trapped in a New York apartment that is equal parts dazzling and haunting, it's up to Aurora and her brooding hitman neighbor to show the monster under her bed who's boss.
What a monster!
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
All right. Thank you very much, Khalid.
Yeah.
A little bit of background about this movie before we dig into some thoughts. Interesting thing about this that I found: Bryan Fuller actually initially planned this as an episode of Spielberg's revival of Steven Spielberg's revival of the anthology series Amazing Stories for Apple Plus.
Huh.
Came out in 2020. So he was actually inspired by kind of like thematically, not stylistically, the Amblin films of the 80s, kind of the idea that movies geared toward kids that had like a quote bite to it. Didn't make his way to that series, but Bryan Fuller kind of held on to the idea, really liked it, and eventually just retooled it as kind of like this feature film. They were actually really upset at first when it got the R rating, but apparently when they watched it the preview screen, they're like, okay, I kind of get it at times. But anyway, so yeah, it's kind of like an R-rated kids movie in a sense when you think about it. But that being said, Jessie, you were the one who suggested this one. What are your thoughts on this movie?
I really liked it. You actually asked me to come on this podcast right after I watched this movie. It was like just a few days after you sent the email to be like, hey, would you love to come on? And I was like, well, I just watched a great movie that fits the bill quite well. And yeah, I really liked it. It even watching it without knowing that was the backstory on how it got created, I could easily tell that he was very much trying to pull from Amblin. Where I get it's those like movies from that era where it meant it was going to traumatize you a little bit while watching it.
Yeah.
Like my big one that I remember when I was a kid was Page Master. That movie
great
was
movie.
Great movie. Very traumatizing as a kid.
Yeah.
The Jekyll and Hyde bit with Leonard Nimoy is horrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie very much fits that bill. And I just I always really like Bryan Fuller. He has such a great has this great style to him that has like a surrealism and heightened element to it, and yet still somehow manages to find a way to be grounded as well. It's like very fairy tale, but grounded, surreal, but not. You can see it kind of going like to an extra edge in something like Hannibal, which is one of my favorite shows of his that also starred Mads Mikkelsen. And I liked this movie kind of doing a very similar thing where there is such fairy tale things here, but especially for the first half of this movie, there's a really big question of is the fantastical elements of this real or not, and I like how it plays with that in kind of ways that are atypical, because that idea of like, ooh, is it real or not, has been done a million different ways, but even here there's it kind of does both of it. It does it both ways in very fun and interesting and very playful ways, and it kind of like plays with your expectations at several points in it, but in a very low key way. It's not like this is what's happening. It's just sort of you go into scenes and you're sort of like, what is exactly how is it exactly is this working? Like, what is this person's motivation? And then you start to sort of see it unravel. And it's just a lot of fun. It's just a very like every actor in this movie is, including the kid who's a really great kid, is having a lot of fun. So yeah, just overall, I really enjoyed this movie quite a lot.
Yeah. How about you, Khalid? What'd you think?
Yeah, I loved it overall. I do think that, especially after you saying that it started as an idea for an hour-long episode, I do feel like that explains what like at times felt like a movie that was compensating, whereas there were so many sequences where I was like just in it and enjoying it. There was a little bit of a bloat there that I feel like comes from reconfiguring your story. So I did love it though. Like I wanna go back to that because I agree with Jessie. Like the I feel like he's got Bryan Fuller has such a like audacious and like confident like vision as a director that even though this is like his first like big feature film, like I would count him among like Wes Anderson or Tim Burton, where like stylistically he has a signature just as much as any other like aspect of directing for him. And so that's really like my big takeaway from the movie is like it never stopped being like such a meal to watch, you know. It's just so visually like just stuffed with like things to enjoy and consume throughout. I mean, everything from the wallpaper to the wardrobe, which at one point intersects so cleverly in the Hitman. Like it really is just like a movie that like is confident in how cool it looks and like confident enough to like bring it into the story on like so many textual levels. And yeah, the cast is great. Mads Mikkelsen rules. And I mean, the script is pretty solid for me. I loved Pushing Daisies and Hannibal, so I've kind of already been like bought in on the Bryan Fuller of it all. So yeah, it was just a great time all around, with the exception of, I don't know, maybe there was a couple of scenes where they didn't necessarily need to go back and forth as much. I think it could have just gotten to certain things quicker. But that being said, love the movie. Joe, what about you?
I
What'd you
agree.
think? Oh, thank
I
you.
agree with you on that, by the way. I was just I agree.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
I ended up really loving it myself too. Like I honestly, like I would say I didn't know what to expect going into this. When I was first watching it, and for as much as I thought that the initial dragon fight in the alleyway was really cool, I was a little bit worried where it was going. I was like, this I've seen some movies that I feel like emphasize like that style over like a substance in a sense, and style over substance, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be this. But that being said, I was quickly proven wrong. I feel like I really loved it. It was there's some really like interesting themes at play, a lot of interesting ideas at work. I really love the melding of genres. Like I've kind of been on a run recently of watching like 90s crime thrillers for whatever reason, but like bringing in this like kind of like crime thriller element with the hitman piece with this like monster movie, which obviously I love. Like that blending was really cool. I love like what we talked about, the Amblin kind of bit to it, but also like this like Art Nouveau like French maximalism like style to it. Like it's just really interesting. Like there's an intentionality behind these blendings. It's not just like, oh, that looks cool. It's like it feels like there's a lot of like thought and care put into that, and I really appreciate a lot of that. Great performances. Loved all the color, creative, funny, touching. Like you guys mentioned, the cast, Sigourney Weaver, great to see her pop in. David Desmelchin, always love him whenever he shows up like as a that guy actor at this point. He's
having a good run right now.
He really is.
Late Night with the Devil a little while ago. He was just on One Piece.
Murderbot.
Murderbot. He was great.
Nice.
He's on One Piece,
he's number 3 on One Piece of Baroque Works. Yeah, he has a lot of fun.
He's such a cool guy to show up. Yeah, it's a great movie. The central relationship. So Mads Mikkelsen's character is the quote intriguing neighbor, is what he's referred to as, and Aurora. Like I really found that to be very sweet. I mean, like it's like the lone wolf and cub, of course. Like we have that motif always popping up in lots of things, but like I think it's a little bit more than that, because it's like a found family. It's like also a found family story. We have a lot of those too, but I think the way that this movie took on found family felt like fresh and unique in a way. I'm trying to like put that to words, but what did you guys think of the relationship between those two characters?
I thought it was really sweet. Like this movie captures. We talked about Amblin earlier, and Amblin. What I liked about a lot of those movies, like E.T. and a few other ones, like they managed to capture this kind of whimsical but very heartwarming relationships between two people.
Yeah.
That a lot of movies today, I don't want to say there's no movies that do that, but a lot of like movies kind of treat that very perfunctorily, like, oh yeah, they're together sort of thing. And they bonded. And this movie, like, there's just such good chemistry between the sort of like very closed off Mads Mikkelsen and then the kid who I think Sophie Sloane, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Who is really good. Like it is hard to find a good child actor. And even the ones you do have, like, don't necessarily have a lot of personality. And this kid is really young. And like she has such a good timing, and that's a credit to her and also credit to Bryan Fuller as a director. And you really, really believe their relationship grows, and like just the little humor that like devolves between them, like where he can't say her name correctly over and over and over again. She keeps correcting him, and it becomes this like back and forth. Is it like it starts off being like a very like not aggressive, but like her just being like, you're not listening to me, you're not hearing me. And then it becomes like a very caring thing between the two of them where they kind of play off of each other and endearing to each other. I thought that was really good. And I like, you were talking about the themes of the movie and found family. It's that. And I also liked the themes that kind of recurred about parenthood and like absentee parents or parents who abandon you, parents who leave you behind, and feeling like you don't have a tether to your parents. Because are we allowed to go full spoilers, or we give a warning on here?
At this point, we can go full spoilers.
Okay,
yeah.
like full spoilers on it. The big thing is that Aurora's parents have been eaten by the monster. But like the different like people that she, like her social workers and stuff, think, and even the Fit 5B, the hitman, Mads Mikkelsen, he also believes that like her parents have abandoned her. Like, and so it's this, and I think that that's what it's metaphorically supposed to represent, like a kid who's just been abandoned and not cared for by their parents. And you kind of see that reflected in 5B's relationship with Sigourney Weaver, who is revealed to be his mother at the end of the film. So that's clearly like a tie through this whole thing about parents who are neglectful, or sort of have this like suck it up kid, we're not going to really believe you, and not like getting invested in their kid's world and life. And I thought that was just a fun way to do it. And I thought that was just a very fun relationship that they played with between the two of them.
I think for me, a big theme that came up was personhood and who it's afforded to.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like the core conflict between Sigourney Weaver's character and Aurora.
She literally says that like Aurora doesn't even have a soul yet. She's growing one at one point.
Like just lays it out bare. And I think it's like we're really supposed to sympathize with Aurora at that point, because like we've seen everything through her perspective, and to just have it like flatly like put out like that, like you have no say in what happens to you in your life. And we're watching this whole movie where like she's not accepting that, she's not sitting down and taking that. And that's really cool to see, is like a kid with like agency. And then performance wise, she's precocious, but you know, she's not like Joss Whedon level, like throwing around zingers, and basically just an adult in a kid's body. You know, she's still a child. And I love the care that Mads Mikkelsen's character has in communicating with her, because it feels so much like a tiger that's like in a cage with like a mouse and like playing with it almost. Like it's like you can see how much it's like holding back like what it's capable of. And so I think that's like a really cool performance to turn in for Mads, because you know, he's obviously, with his Hannibal credentials and his many villain roles that he's gotten to play in films, he is capable of something so much fiercer. And he brings that awareness of like anybody who knows about his like career knows that like what he's capable of. He brings that to this like performance with Aurora, where there's a tension even when there isn't a tension, you know?
And it's very like, it's an understated thing, because there is the tenderness to him. And Mads Mikkelsen, when you see him do certain performances, he can do tender really, really well. And it plays well, because you were talking about like him not being a person, like Aurora not being seen as a person, and like he's also not seen as a whole person. He doesn't see it, he sees himself as like a monster. Like he says, I kill monsters, and the implication too is that he's a monster as well, and he doesn't really see himself as a person worthy of agency or identity. Sigourney Weaver sort of dictates to him his whole life. And I think that's sort of reflected in his relationship with Aurora, where he is sort of like not really believing her at first, and yet is like treating her as a person, and being like trying to protect her, like combating and like going at her, like verbally sparring with her. But then there's that moment where, you know, she asks to help, like, you know, cut up the guy and carve up the guy, and he's like, no, I'm not going to let you do this. And it's very matter of fact, but it is like a oddly tender thing for a character like that. And so, yeah, it's a really, really like oddly very sweet relationship.
I mean, and you see it in that like fact that she has definitely told other people what she thinks happened to her parents and her foster parents after them that were eaten. And he's the only one that, even if he doesn't believe her, even if he has his own like hunch about what really happened, he's still asking her questions and like respecting her replies, you know? It's that thing of, you see it with kids every day, where it's like there's a difference in how they'll like communicate with you or feel comfortable around you if like you're still just doing like talking down baby speak versus just eventually like just talking to them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Joe, I know you're a teacher, so you like have experience with that, where it's but it's something that people don't talk about enough. Where it's like kids are people. They are people. They just don't have like the emotional and cognitive tools or experience to like handle a lot of things they go through. But they are people.
Exactly. Yeah, and like you're saying, Khalid, like it's so true. Like I mean, talking with kids, like my students are just about the age that she's at, really, and it's like if you were to talk down to them in that way, like they are sharp enough to be like, okay, you don't get it. I'm not going to relate to you. I'm not going to like open up to you. You know, like there is like a level of realness that you kind of have to have in those kind of communications. And I think you're absolutely right that this movie like really kind of hit the nail on the head of what that needs to look like, and also what that doesn't look like from all the other adults in her life. It was super well done. Speaking of the actor, so Aurora, Sophie Sloane, she is apparently in real life has a heavy Scottish accent.
Oh wow!
And apparently, she watched like 2 weeks straight of American TikTok videos to perfect her American accent. Very fun fact. Yeah, and then apparently on the when Mads first read the script, he was like, "I love the script, but you got to change the name. I can't say it." And Bryan Fuller was like, "No, we're going to make this into something."
That's really good.
That's awesome.
I love that. That was just like an on the fly, and they made it meaningful too.
Yeah.
Also you can tell that's a director who knows and has a relationship prior relationship with the actor because of his working on Hannibal with Mads. That's something you find through a relationship like that.
Exactly. You can kind of like bounce ideas. It's like kind of like yes and the situation a little bit. Yeah. And it's definitely, yeah. I feel like like you guys mentioned, like the chemistry is palpable, and I feel like that kind of starts sometimes at like the leadership level on a film. And so like it's very evident here. I'm very eager to see Bryan Fuller take on like more films after this too.
Yeah, no, I've been a big fan of Bryan Fuller. I mean, she's started off writing for Star Trek way back in the day, Star Trek Voyager. Problematic episodes in Voyager, to be fair. He wrote some good ones. He wrote some very problematic ones.
Yeah.
But what is Star Trek without problematic episodes? But since they're like Pushing Daisies, Hannibal, even his season of American Gods is the best season of American Gods.
Yep.
Star Trek Discovery, he was on and then got off of, but I appreciate a lot of this ideas he put into Star Trek Discovery. So yeah, like he's a guy who I've always enjoyed his work. So
yeah, he's definitely a really unique creative voice. I feel like it's fun to see. One of the other pieces of this movie that I thought was kind of interesting, the character who we think of as first as like the social worker, but it reveals that she's part of the FBI. Kind of like another wrench into that kind of like almost crime thriller element that was thrown into it. I thought she was an interesting character. What'd you think of her?
Yeah, she was super fun. I think it added another dimension to everything right at the right time in the movie for me, because it felt like once we got over the hump of Mads' character believing that there's a monster, it's like, where do we go from there? It feels like a little too early for a third act showdown. So like bringing in the Fed was great. I loved like getting her learning curve, which like had to be faster for obvious reasons with the monster going full attack, and then her team in the shootout, so dope. Just like I think it was cool that like just with a few shorthands you felt the history they had as a unit, because they don't get much time outside of Aurora's apartment to explain anything about who they are. So it really is just like one or two exchanges, how they communicate, how they operate, and that is how you see like how effective they are as a team, which was cool.
Yeah, I like speaking of, we were just talking about Bryan Fuller. Like, I think what he does so well is he managed to give like so much personality, and the actors too give so much personality very quickly and very efficiently that you're like, oh, I get this character, and they're kind of unique and quirky, but not in a like, look how quirky I am sort of way, but like they have a unique sort of tics, like, and you're able to feel endeared to them, and they're given sort of nuance pretty immediately. Like, there's a good moment where the FBI agent, she like when Aurora sort of tells her like, oh, there's a monster and don't touch the floor. And she's the first person to be like, yeah, like, and she's humoring Aurora, but like actually humoring her and being like, yeah, I'll sit. And she's like sits on the chair and like gets her feet up off the floor. It's like, oh, well, I better not put my feet on the floor. And Aurora's like, yeah, you'll be the first to trust me. But it's like that response like distinguishes her. Even if she is sort of like humoring Aurora at that point, it distinguishes her from every other person in the movie instantaneously and gives her a unique perspective on how she relates to people. And it's like those little small character beats like that tell us a lot very quickly in a movie like this. It's nice to see from a TV writer, because I think a lot of the time, because that's where Bryan Fuller comes from, a lot of the time when TV writers go to movies, they tend to overwrite a little bit, because TV is a time where you have more time to get things across. Whereas movies, you kind of need to be very efficient in that sort of thing. And Bryan Fuller manages to do it really, really well. So I think she's just a very well-drawn character for how little her screen time is.
Yeah, I also appreciate, and this is like way at the very end, I kind of appreciate that she survived.
Yes.
Yeah, that was nice to see. I mean, like, it makes sense that like so many people die in this movie,
yeah.
But yeah, it was like, I mean, she kind of deserved to stay alive there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
Wait, how did she survive?
It was a mid-credit scene.
Oh my God, I don't think I saw it.
You missed it. Yeah, it's a mid-credit. She's like in the like a cabinet in the wall.
Oh.
Yeah, I missed that one as well. I was like, oh, I don't remember her surviving, but it's been a minute.
I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were the only two people in that apartment.
No. There was it was like credits. They go to the mid credits. She bursts out of the cabinet like in the bathroom.
Oh, that's nice.
They
that's
need
good.
to like in blinking block letters be like, there is a mid credit sequence during the credits. Like that's unfair. Yeah. I refuse to just assume every movie has a mid credit sequence until I'm proven wrong. That can't be the agreement.
That is the assumption that I think the new generation is coming up with. Like when I watch a movie with my daughter, every time the credits start, she's like, is there a mid part? And I'm like, that's the assumption. Like, just there will be. And I'm like, probably now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I think there generally is. I don't mind. I mean, I like it when it's something like this where it's not like relevant necessarily,
like sequel bait or something.
Yeah, where either sequel bait, like I don't even necessarily mind sequel bait to a degree, like the Marvel thing where it's like, all right, they're teasing something up. I just dislike it when it's like plot relevant to the movie. Mm-hmm. Like I think the worst offender of this in recent days, and I say this as a huge fan of this movie, and I wanted it to win Best Picture at the Oscars this year, Sinners. Loved Sinners to death, my favorite movie of last year. But it does have the ending of the movie as a mid-credit scene, like the mid-credit, like that mid-credit scene.
It kind of changes the whole. It changes the whole movie.
Yeah, it's like that's the real end of the movie. Like, why are you doing that?
Spoiler alert! If you saw Sinners but didn't see the mid-credit sequence,
yeah, you owe it to yourself. Yeah, but like that character surviving, it's nice to know that, and it's like, oh yeah, good, I'm glad. But it's not like. Doesn't like radically change my like thought process on the ending of the movie or whatever. So,
exactly.
Unless does she end up going to a bar with Buddy Guy and having a conversation about how that was the best night of her life?
Maybe that was the end. I didn't stay all the way.
Okay. Stay tuned, guys. We'll report back.
Yeah, we'll come back on that one. The other thing I wanted to hit on before we get into the monster stuff is the like aspect ratio of this. So it's a really interestingly shot film. Like, so Bryan Fuller and cinematographer Nicole Whitaker were apparently playing around with lenses and settled on and it's like a 3:1 aspect ratio. What Fuller says, and he has a quote here that says, quote, it created a sense of isolation for a little girl in a world with monsters, lost by herself and having so much space on either side of her as the subject. Made me feel more concerned for her, made me fear what was approaching from off camera. There was an immediate psychology to the look of it. They initially just wanted to do a little bit with it, but apparently they were working with the 3:1 aspect ratio, and Bryan Fuller was like, can we just do the whole movie this way? And they went for it. I think it was a bold choice, but I think it was a cool one.
Yeah, I thought it looked great. There's why am I blanking? It's not anamorphic. Why am I blanking on the type of lens where it's out of focus along the sides? I'm blanking on. It's the opposite of anamorphic.
I know what you're talking about, but I forget too.
I should know this as a director, but it's blanking on me. This is why I have cinematographers who know better than I do. But it is true. I liked the look of it. Again, I mean, just visually, like a lot of the set design and color kind of does remind me a lot of Pushing Daisies. But I like that it has a little bit more sense of isolation, like than Pushing Daisies does. Like it has the color popping and the very high saturation of it, but it does feel a lot more isolated and lonely and distinct while still having that big saturation. It feels like a good middle ground between like Pushing Daisies and Hannibal, if we're gonna sort of keep making that comparison. Like it feels like it's a good mixture of the two.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of exists in the space between those.
Yeah.
I will say, for as much as I love the look of the apartment, I never felt oriented in it to the point where like I necessarily knew where everything was as much as I would hope for. Like it felt like if that's going to be like the centerpiece, especially with having Aurora like roll around and stuff like that, it just, I don't know, it never fully like clicked into place, like especially in that like kind of chaotic third act where there's gangsters and there's cops like hiding from the Dust Bunny. I was a little discombobulated. Obviously, I just went with the flow as I watched it, but I'd seen this a couple of times at that point, so it really like stuck out to me. I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily like feel like, oh, that's that room there, or that's the room that he's hiding in right now. And like it, for as much like design and like spectacle went into like how the apartment looks, it never like registered for me, I guess.
Yeah, they don't really do a good shot giving you the layout of the apartment. Like there's a good, what's the mind am I blanking on? I think Don't Breathe, I think is the movie that I remember this so distinctly, where there's a really, I have problems with that movie. But that movie is like a home invasion movie, and there's a shot in it earlier on where we follow a character like going through the whole house in a long take, and you really get a sense of the geography of the film.
Yeah, that's the Stephen Lang one, right? With,
yeah.
Fede Alvarez, yeah.
Many problems with that movie goes. But that was something I just distinctly remember of like, this is showing you all the geography of where everything's at. And this movie, it doesn't really give you a good geographic sense, which, I mean, I think it's to a degree fine, because I think it plays with the sense of like, this is not the place that she's always lived in her entire life. The sense of like every character here doesn't really know this apartment all that well. So that kind of adds a sense of danger to it. It's like not a grounded thing where you kind of need to know all the geography of it. And I kind of liked that. It kind of worked for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. It feels like labyrinthine, or like a labyrinth in a sense, where it's like, it seems extra big. Like it seems almost like it gets bigger every time we see it. Like I kind of get it feels a little disorienting, but it almost like added to like this dreamlike element to it. I could kind of see it both ways.
Especially since like it's like a 2-bedroom apartment, really. It's not
supposed
that big.
to be.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how big is this apartment?
Yeah, which I mean, for a 2-bedroom apartment to make it seem that big and kind of fairy tale and labyrinthine, I think it's a good word for it. If I could say the word correctly.
You can never say it.
As labyrinthine. But it's I kind of like that as a choice. I think it worked for me, I think.
Yeah. The whole building was cool, like the elevator and the stair. I mean, everything about it was cool. We talk about the design so much, but it's like I was not clear like what city we were in, and like I'm also like totally fine with that. Like it's just made up kind of city. I think it's supposed to be New York,
but is what I read.
Yeah, but then there's also like cobblestones at one point. I think they're working on, so it's like not clear there either. It does have it's like a odd, fantastical quality to it.
Yeah,
very much so. Yeah, but it's fun. Shall we monster it up, you guys?
Yeah,
let's do it.
This monster. So the monster in this, the featured monster, the Dust Bunny, is a large creature with long, floppy ears, shaggy coat fur that obscures much of its facial structure, and powerful jaws with big, sharp teeth. It sort of manifests as this monster under the bed for our main character, Aurora, and has this unique ability to kind of swim under the floorboards like a shark, but in a wood floor. So to create the initial designs for the creature, Bryan Fuller worked with a comic book artist, John Wayshak, and he said that he wanted the creature that is, quote, part Highland cow, part hippopotamus, part piranha, and all bunny. There is a link in the show notes. There's a Fangoria article with the initial designs that they created that are all really fascinating. But once they finished the sketches, the designs were passed along to the folks at Legacy Effects. So we've had Legacy folks on this podcast before. They're all great. They created a large puppet, and the final creature was a mix a mostly practical puppetry with just a little bit of CGI to kind of enhance, mainly like the swimming parts. But primarily they're working with a practical puppet in frame, which I love to hear that. But what'd you guys think of the monster?
So when I started watching the movie, I was actually really worried at first.
Yeah.
Because we do see the dust bunny in like the opening sequence as like a tiny little bunny, and it was like very like we clearly see it. It's like not hidden by anything, and it's like a lot of it's a very CG creature. And I, especially in a movie like this, I always am like, ugh, you should hide that creature in darkness a little bit more. It's a little obvious that it's not real. And not a practical effect. So I was like, oh, is this going to be what we're going to be doing? I like the idea of it like swimming underneath the floors and like like how it like digs under, and like the sound effects for it was really, really cool. So all of that was great until we got to the final like big sequence with the full monster at the end. And that was wonderful. I adored it. Especially there's like one thing where I think they shoot in through a door and you see like the teeth light up. I was like, oh, that's such a good shot. And it's just a very fun design. Like, it works really well because it is terrifying with its teeth as it's going around for that sequence. But then it also doubles at the end of the movie. Again, big spoiler, like where it becomes like a kind of like it's her dust bunny and she kind of is like cuddling with it. So it kind of has a cute aspect to it as well. So to kind of really capture that, like, it's terrifying when it needs to be, but also can be kind of cute and adorable at the same time, is a really difficult line to walk. And I think they did it really, really well.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Jesse. This is a really well-designed monster. I love the foreplay with like revealing it, and the swimming under the ground is great. The tiles, the way that they would just like poke up was like so visually great. I think that it's interesting that they were able to make something that simultaneously looked cartoonish and realistic at the same time when we got to see the full creature. And yeah, it registers as something that would be like terrifying to a kid. It kind of reminded me of like the Roald Dahl animations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
I really like that. Like, there's like almost like this like hand drawn aspect to it when you're looking at it. That's super cool. And yeah, it felt real. It did the job. It was convincing, and they did a really good job establishing the visual language of the world already. I think the dragon fight kind of helped with that too. And so yeah, when it came to seeing the dust bunny, it delivered.
Yeah, it definitely feels like when you say feel real, it feels real to like what kind of like a kid would kind of imagine too, especially like the vibe of that was really interesting. I'm with you, Jesse, though. Like that first shot of like the little cute CGI dust bunny in the beginning was part of that time when in the movie where I was like, I'm not sure about this at first, but yeah, that I'm glad that was just a tiny tease of what we actually got. Like it was the practical element of it, I think really added a whole lot to this. Like the scene when it's like under the bed and she's like holding on to the bed and it like can't find her, like looking around like with the bed on its back, almost like a turtle shell. Like that was a really cool, like visceral, like sequence that I feel like you could almost like feel it in the frame, you know?
Yeah. It feels it has like an anglerfish look to it, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Like the teeth and like the way you can't see its eyes, it's got that like sort of big head. It kind of like has a bit of an anglerfish look to it that I kind of enjoyed. That
is super fun.
Yeah, it's more teeth stuff. I like the teeth stuff. You know,
that's great callback.
Anglerfish looks like
they're like giant teeth. Yeah, they're like the other ones with the little light on, right?
Yeah, they're the ones.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Good call.
See it. Yeah, that is a really good call, actually. I don't feel like I'm clear on the mechanics of Aurora's wishing power, but I also don't think that matters, so I don't really care that much about it.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, because it's one of those, like, I don't think, especially for Bryan Fuller, he's not someone necessarily to do hard rules on stuff. I think like the hardest rule he's ever had on like how he's done magic was the pushing daisies. Like, you know, you have a minute or however long it was to like touch somebody again before they die. And everything else is just kind of got a whimsical, like you kind of vibe. It's like vibe magic here. And I think it works here at the end too, because, you know, it's less about like figuring out the mechanics of how this work and more about how she's feeling about the world. Yeah. And so she wanted to like have the bunny to like, you know, protect her and all that jazz. And then she wished for also Mads Mikkelsen's character as well. So like it's about like, you know, her sort of manifesting her feelings in the world and who she needs in the world, which I think it works very well.
Yeah, ultimately it's way more like in service of the theme that way. Like it's what it's trying to say. Speaking of, like, let's get to that point, like the ending. So like what we get at the end is like the bunny does eat Mads at one point, but spits him out because he coats himself with thumb sucking stuff. But we find out
Brilliant.
that basically, like, yeah, brilliant. The dust bunny doesn't want to hurt Aurora, and it's kind of, it becomes part of that, like, kind of like found family we talk about at the end. Like it's with them. It's like something she kind of has to kind of make peace with and almost embrace in a way. What do we think of that ending?
I was okay with it. It felt like a fun kind of, it's her pet now kind of ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't really give us any like reason to believe that like she could kill the monster in any way.
Yeah.
So this feels like as happy an ending as she could get.
Yeah, I think it worked for me. It's a tad cute and a tad like, oh, we've seen it before, but I think it does work with the themes of the movie of, this is just something that you carry now, of like this trauma from your past is just kind of a part of you that you hold on to, and you can't let it like keep you from finding connection with other people, because it matches up with like Mads, who also sort of sees himself as a monster throughout the whole movie, is like, I'm not really a good guy. And he has to kind of make peace with that and be okay with connecting with this young girl that he didn't want to connect with, and like sort of be her surrogate father as we get at the end. And I think that sort of works really well thematically with the film. It is a little bit of my only negative on it is it is a little like, all right, and we're quickly just wrapping it up now, and it's like, it turns out like it's part of you, it's your thing. It's like, it's a little easy at the end. But other than that, like thematically, I think it works really well, and it has a sweet quality. I think what would have made it work is like maybe a little more hints of it earlier on in the movie, or less of a like more of a sense of connection to it, like hinted at, I think a little bit more. Might have just helped that ending feel earned a little bit, but other than that, it works thematically really well. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think that makes sense. I'm with you guys. I think like it's, yeah, if it was more like set up to it, I think that would have helped a lot. But I think like overall, I'm happy with it. Like, this is the kind of movie I think that, just given what the characters have gone through and what it took for them to like come together, like I would like for them to have a happy ending ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's sweet. Anyway, speaking of sweet things, Khalid.
Yeah.
It was a nice one this time. Would you fight with or would you flirt with your own dust bunny monster if you were in this situation?
I don't. Okay, you guys got me thinking as we were talking, because at first I was like, it's undefeatable, like fighting it is folly, like I'd die. But Aurora's wishes are seemingly unlimited, and she's just I just don't think she thought about it strategically. Like, not to be that guy, but like, I feel like if your wishes come true, just like, I wish that thing wasn't here anymore. I don't know why you need to like wish for a hitman. But if we're going under the assumption that Aurora has like an unlimited wishing power, depending on how badly she wants it, I would fight the dust bunny, and I would be her strategic like vizier, like in her ear, whispering about like the wishes she should do, and then that's how we would take it down. And I don't know, like hang out and do like cool wish stuff after. So fight it, provided Aurora teams up with me and lets me access her wishes, sublease them, I guess.
You just picture yourself as Mads in this story.
No, because he also wasn't very strategic about it. Fair. I don't think even now that thought has occurred to him that he has a child with unlimited wishes.
With wish power. Yeah.
I think he needs a shooting star. I think there's like as long as you have a shooting star, I guess. Yeah.
Was it even a shooting star? I thought it was like a firefly or something that flew by.
I feel like she saw something. I mean, you could track those. Like,
yeah. All right, let's go find a shooting star, kid. Let's go. We're going out. We're gonna watch
meteor shower. Your
first wish when we see a shooting star is that you always know when the next shooting star is coming.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah. And infinite money, then immortality. It's great. We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're all winners, and I will get rid of that dust bunny in no time.
Well said, Khalid. Do you guys have any last thoughts about the movie?
What is the feasibility of Sigourney Weaver's heel guns? Like, I don't understand any situation in which that would be the preferred thing to use, is those heel revolvers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have no idea. That was a cool thing, but yeah, it made zero sense.
Two things that I would just mention. Sigourney Weaver is great. We don't talk about her. She kind of shows up. I think her scenes are the ones that go on a little long. Kind of agreeing with you, but she is clearly having fun in them. So it's at least it's a joy to watch. And the other thing too, we kind of didn't touch upon. I talked about it in the opening. Is I did like the first hour of the movie where you're kind of still playing with the idea of, is this monster real or not? Is it just in little girl's head? But I like how it plays with it, because we see her seeing Mads Mikkelsen beat up some bad guys, and she's imagining what's kind of going on with the dragon there. So you're like, oh, okay. So she does kind of imagine something that's not really there. So you already sort of have this idea of okay, the dust bunny's probably not real. But then the way that Mads Mikkelsen sort of takes her seriously when she goes and gives him money and says, can you kill a monster for me? It's played in a way where you can almost believe that he does kill monsters and he's just playing coy with her. So then you're kind of on the side of, well, maybe he is a monster killer for a little bit. And it's just kind of a fun way to keep riding that line in a way that I haven't really seen before. Where it does come down very definitively, no, this monster very much exists. With that, I love that great bit where David Duck Malkian, he's hanging from the thing. He's like, there's something under the floor. It's they're all just screaming it. It's great. So the monster definitively exists, but that first hour, it's plays it very well. You keep going back and forth over is it really? Is it not? Is it really? In a very playful way that doesn't draw attention to itself. Some movies I feel that do the whole is it real, is it not, are a little bit overt with this scene is telling you that it's definitely not real, but then this scene tells you it definitely is real. Ooh, which one do we mean? Whereas this one, it never draws attention to the way it's kind of playing with your expectation in both ways. So that's the only other thing I wanted to mention about it that I really enjoyed in that first hour or so.
That's a great point. I love that connection you draw between her seeing the dragon fight as a real fight with a real dragon, being leading us to question whether or not the dust bunny's real. I kind of didn't make that connection initially, that's a 1-to-1, but I really like that. Yeah, you're right. I do think that they do a good job with kind of building that question.
Yeah.
Did you think it was one way or the other as you're watching it?
I mean, I went back and forth. My experience is good because when I saw the dragon fight, and I was like, okay, so it's definitely not real, and she's dealing with some other trauma that she's sort of put upon this bunny, her parents abandoning her, or whatever, parents dying or something, and that was going to be revealed. And then the scene where, I just mentioned, where she goes to him and he kind of plays coy about it, but then he's like, I do kill monsters. He's playing a little bit weird about it. I almost went oh, maybe he does kill monsters. And the fight that we saw was maybe she was actually seeing something. My initial impression was maybe she does see what really happened, and he kills monsters that look like men, but they are monsters inside for some reason. So that was I kept going back and forth at how it played with that until we get the reveal of no one believes that monsters exist, but this one does. So yeah. One last thing, David Duck Malkian, his character is also really good too, despite having not a lot of screen time. He has that one really good scene. I mean, all of his scenes are good, but there's one great scene where we first get introduced to him, and they're eating dim sum, and he goes up and asks hey, do you think you should have a kid here? Because I'm sent here, and it's all, he doesn't say it outright, but it's I'm here to kill you. And I don't want to kill a kid, so can we do this outside? And it's a really nice way to add depth to his character very quickly. So that was another thing too.
Oh yeah, great point. Yeah. It was like you were saying, they did a really good job with all the small characters too, making them feel lived in characters, not just somebody who's there for a small purpose. Yeah, it's all really well done. Yeah, it's a good movie. I was really impressed with this one. I hope that more people check it out. I don't know if I heard that much buzz around it when it was coming out, or like I think it's coming out on streaming officially like in a couple of weeks, so maybe we'll get more.
I hope
soon.
so too. At the very least, like it feels like it. What I think is good about it is it feels like it was a success in the way that Bryan Fuller needed it to be. Where it's like, okay, people will probably be like, give him money to make something even bigger as a director. Like, this was a great first outing. Maybe didn't do gangbusters because people didn't know how to sell it, yada yada yada. But like, people know you're a good director now, so you can kind of do a little bit more with your second film. At least that's my hope with how it goes. So
same. Well, our final segment on Frankenstein's podcast is our What the Fandom segment, in which we share 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 things that we are just kind of into at the moment that may or may not have anything to do with monsters or the movie in question at all. We usually let our guests go last. Go last if you need a little extra moment to think. So we'll go first. Khalid, why don't you start us off? What the Fandom with you this week?
Thanks, Joe. My What the Fandom this week is going to be the new Kid Cudi EP, Have You Been to Heaven at Night? I'm a big Cudi fan, especially from his early days. Very definitive music for my college years. I love Kid Cudi, and this new EP feels like a real return to form. I know that he's had departures over the years. I mean, obviously it's like over 10 years of evolving as an artist is going to get you that, but it really felt like it was like him going back to his roots and like exploring that like sad boy persona that he so expertly crafted. And it's just a tight 4-track, 20-ish minute EP. Real breeze to listen to. It feels like a great song to lead us into the summer. I'm officially calling it for Cudi. It is Sad Boy Summer. Everyone else could still enjoy their summers, but it is for the sad boys who will, for the most part, be indoors. But when they out, it's their summer. So that'll be my What the Fandom. Joe, What the Fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. I'm going to go with 2 this time. I did something that I very rarely do. A friend of mine invited me out to a live music show, which ostensibly I love live music. I don't know why I don't do it more often, but I very rarely do it. And I went to a show. It was at the Fitzgerald Theater here in St. Paul, and it was the High Kings, which is an Irish an Irish band, and they do like Irish folk songs. They have some modern songs, but they do some really classic ones. They played Rocky Road to Dublin. They played a bunch of stuff you heard in Sinners, which was super fun. But it was a really cool show. We're like second row too, and it really just like kind of illustrated to me how like intrinsically tied Irish culture is with like resistance and like revolution, or like kind of just fighting for freedom, like freedom fighting in general. Like so many of their like they were also like storytellers, so they were telling stories throughout it too. And like so much of it was just about like fighters who'd like died in like rebellions or various things that happened to their cities, and like all this stuff. And it's just seeing like how like tied that is like throughout their history was really fascinating, and kind of just like a powerful experience. It's just overall really fun. They also like talked a lot about drinking, which was also fun too. But it was a really like enjoyable show, and I've been listening to some of their music. It's just like kind of fun to listen to the songs. Some of them are really like, you know, sweet and somber and sad sounding, and some are just really exciting about like, you know, being at a pub. So yeah, I really enjoyed them. So the High Kings, I would recommend checking those guys out. They're super fun. Some of them are covers, some of them are original tunes. But my second thing I really wanted to shout out, because this is our first podcast I've done since this series wrapped up, is I wanted to talk a little bit about Starfleet Academy season 1. I huge fan of, as many people listening to this podcast know, and Jesse, you as well, Star Trek fan. Really loved this season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I think it did some really interesting things with the characters, and really tying some really like deep sci-fi messages, and like utilizing kind of the space as like a school to some really clever effect. And specifically I think about like the debate episode, if anyone's watched it. I think that was a really clever use of a school setting to tell a really like heavy Star Trek-y story. And I think they did that throughout the series quite a bit. And I mean, there were some stumbles. I think Cleve and I, we've talked about it. We give it like a solid B+ overall as a series, but like I was really happy with it. I love that 32nd century Star Trek setting. I'm really bummed to hear that it won't be continuing after season 2 as of yet, unless there's something that changes. But I know that wasn't the most watched Star Trek series, so I wanted to give that one a shout. I really loved it. It wrapped up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring for season 2. So anyway,
I'm working on right now. My video I'm working on for my channel is my sort of big analysis of Starfleet Academy. I'm right there with you. It had some stumbles, but I really thought it was a beautiful show, and it was weirdly at the kind of at the confluence of so many different things, like everything going on at Paramount, our current culture war nonsense. There was a lot of harassment and very toxic discourse around the show. It was also a new type of young adult Star Trek show, so like, you know, it was always kind of an interesting weird sell, but then just add on to it all everything else. But I do think, like, despite the fact that it didn't, that it sadly seems like we're not going to be getting more than 2 seasons for a variety of reasons. I thought it like captured the true heart of a great Star Trek show. And yeah, even if we just get the 2 seasons, I think, you know, they're the first season's great, and I'm hopeful the second season will be really wonderful. And it just kind of hit an unfortunate moment at a confluence of a really upsetting culture we live in at the moment. So it's kind of was not its fault in a lot of ways. But my big fandom that I want to talk about right now, I'll just talk about it really quick because I could go forever on it, is Dungeon Crawler Carl. I have fallen in love with these books so hard. I did a whole podcast on it with my friend Draft on genre fiction that I mentioned earlier. So check out that for my overall thoughts. But I initially, I'd heard about Dungeon Crawler Carl for a long time, and I kind of was hesitant to get into the books because looking at them, my initial assumption was they were going to be kind of dude bro-y reference kind of humor, very similar to like Ready Player One sort of thing, where it's like, okay, it's going to be a lot of like D&D references and Star Trek references and a lot of like edgelordy humor sort of thing it's like, you know, I'm not going to, you know, yuck anyone's yum if they like that stuff. And I certainly enjoyed it for certain parts of my life, but it's something I'm not like super into. But I started reading them. I was like, all right, I've heard enough about it. I'll give the first book a go. And it is so good. You think it's going to be that way, and yet it actually has a lot that it wants to say with that veneer. It really feels like a series that is very political in what it's trying to talk about without it being very overt. It's a series that very much feels like it captures our day and age of feeling overwhelmed by so many things happening in the world right now, of being like this. The books are so complicated and have so much world building, and it's meant to be overwhelming for the characters who are like, I don't understand what's happening right now. I'm just trying to survive. And the basic pitch of the books is aliens come, basically kill everyone on the main planet Earth, like flatten all the buildings down. Anyone who's in a building instantaneously dies. And they open up a dungeon underneath the Earth. And anyone who goes in there becomes a crawler, and essentially becomes very Hunger Games, where you're just trying to survive and get to the lower floors. And you're basically on a galactic reality show, while they're also like mining the Earth for resources. And the reality show of you surviving is just how they pay for it. And it's this very like, and the characters get drawn into like all the political realities of all these things, all the weird stuff that's going on. And it's just this character being like, you are not going to break me, because the show endlessly tries to mess with him and psychologically just break him. And it's this really great way of this character like dealing with all this trauma, and yet also like figuring out how to like resist and build community and hold on to hope during moments of like mass death and genocide. Yet also weirdly funny at the same time too. And also the best character in the book is his cat, who's a sentient cat. His cat becomes sentient. Her name is Princess Donut. And she is amazing. And I thought she was going to be a character that the book was just going to like use to like make fun of women, like, cause she likes Gossip Girl, but she actually is a really like, she's an over the top character, yet she also has a lot of emotional depth. She has a life separate from the main character. Carl comes to like rely on her more and more as a person and see her more as a person. And it's this really beautiful series that's like very funny, very over the top, very ridiculous, and yet at the same time has some of the most hard-hitting and like frankly like gut-wrenching moments that I've read in the series, it manages to just walk that tone really well. I cannot recommend the Dungeon Crawler Crawl books enough. Like the first book is probably the hardest one to get through, just because that's where it's the most edge, like lordy style humor. But once you get through that, I really think the series is something really special. So I'd highly recommend it.
Fascinating. I've heard that recommended a few times to me, and I feel like I'm just like, I just need to go get it and start reading it.
Yeah. The moment that I understood, like, oh, this guy actually knows his stuff. Cause like the third book, he gets like it's called The Anarchist Cookbook. And I thought, oh, it's going to be a joke. And it's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
This book, like low-key is doing anarchist stuff. Like it's actually talking about like how to build community networks and like things like that while in a like over the top dungeon-y sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually like, oh, this is actually like, this guy clearly has read like some Kropotkin or Bookchin or whatever. Like he knows his stuff. But the thing that caught me was in the first book, there's a bad guy who's like another crawler who's going around killing people to get their stuff, and is like betraying other people. And the book was written, I think, in 2019, and that character is described as an ICE agent. He's like, oh, the bad guy character is like, he gives me like an ICE agent vibe. And the book was written in 2019. So the writer clearly, Matt Dinneman, clearly like had his politics on point even then. So
that is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm going to read that very soon.
Yeah. It's
great recommendation. Well, seriously, thank you so much, Jessie, for coming on the podcast. This was a blast. I was really excited to have you come on.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a big fan of the videos, so I feel like I have a conversation with you a lot more than I do because I'm watching you on things.
The parasocial relationship, I do the same thing. Yep.
Real quick, is there anything? I think you mentioned there's other couple projects you want to plug real quick.
Nothing I'm super ready to announce at the moment. I'm working on I can mention them. I'm working on a few things where I'm working on a book. I'm working on that feature film that I'm hopefully going to start working on. Like we're in pre-production right now. We'll probably do a campaign some point later this year to sort of raise money for it. But yeah, right now I'm just sort of in pre-production on a billion different things. So hopefully I'll have some more stuff to like fully like, oh, go do this. So what I will just say for now is go to my YouTube channel, support me there, sign up and subscribe, and then Patreon helps pay the bills. You can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessie, for coming on to have a great discussion with us. And thank you, everybody at home or wherever you choose to listen to this podcast, for continuing to listen to us. And until next time, creep it easy. Frankenstein's podcast is hosted by Joe Praska and me, Khalid Hussein, with music from Jim Hall and original artwork from Jim Tandberg. A reminder that we do have a Patreon if you are interested and able to support our show. We are a fully independent podcast maintained as a labor of love, so anything helps. You can become a Patreon at the $1 or $3 level, or you can become a producer at the $7 level. Becoming a patron gives you access to bonus content like Frankenbits, where we discuss a range of topics often outside the realm of monsters. Thank you to our current Patreon producers, Luke Johnson, Andy Groth, Jay Cole, and Joe Michaud. And thank you to each and every one of you listening.